Joining us now is Congressman Michael Burgess. He's a Republican representing North Texas. Congressman, thank you so much for being here. I was really looking forward to talking to you because you were a doctor for 3 decades, and I'm just wondering, hearing the testimony from that poor pediatrician and what he had to see, does that change your thoughts at all on how to keep weapons like that out of the hands of teenagers?
Well, it certainly speaks to keeping violence out of our schools and houses of worship. I would just point out I still am a physician. I am licensed in the state of Texas, though I'm not actively practicing because this job is too time-consuming. But honestly, I had a symposium on emergency preparedness back in the district 6 or 8 weeks ago, and one of the topics was school safety. And it's important to me because I have family members who teach in schools, teach in middle schools. Obviously, our hearts go out to the people who've been so devastated down in Uvalde. But one of the things that my takeaways from that was the chief of the police of the independent school district said he and his superintendent made the decision about 6 or 8 years ago that they were not going to go to 20 funerals in their district. So they had taken some people might call them extraordinary measures to protect their schools, but I would consider those common sense measures.
Such as?
One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today was because I think those are so important.
Tell me what they did.
Police force on not just a school resource officer, but an actual force. So the chief was actually located in the independent school district facilities himself. Which gave him ample time to be able to get to know his students. And look, we all know who the troublemakers were back in high school, right? To give a chance for interdiction. He also,
but
and it's controversial.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just stop you.
Let me just go through the 4 points really quickly.
Yeah.
I know it's controversial, but he did arm his personnel, and it was an extensive training program. Teachers, custodians, aides. He also had the ability for any employee to lock down the system on their say-so. They didn't have to get it approved. It was just done. And then the big one, of course, is behavioral intervention guidelines and having a school psychologist on site so that they were able to deal with kids who were exhibiting signs of crisis long before they ever got to the point of acting out. Now, look, that may not be right in every institution.
I understand.
But it's working for them.
Okay, so it's working at that one school, and that's interesting, I think. But here's where I get confused. You talk about behavioral intervention, but you don't talk about keeping guns out of the hands of, as you say, everybody knew the troubled kid in high school. That's the lethal nexus. So in other words, I've read the legislation that you've proposed, the behavioral intervention guidelines, about how schools can establish behavioral intervention, but it doesn't talk about, after you identify that kid, keeping the gun out of that kid's hands. So do you support red flag laws?
Well, look, red flag laws is certainly what we're dealing with on the floor of the House today. The lack of due process really, it makes this a non-starter, which is why I really wish the House would have behaved a little bit more like the Senate in this. And the Senate was open to hearing from both sides. The House was not. Nancy Pelosi just simply wanted her bills to come to the floor.
But just help me understand, why is it a non-starter? If you want to identify the troublemaker, why wouldn't you flag them and keep them from getting weapons?
Well, here's the thing. You might be able to have some interventional guidelines that would lead you in that direction, but the way the laws are written that we'll be voting on today, or the way the bills are written that we'll be voting on today, completely abrogate due process. And look, we're talking about a constitutional right. It is the Second Amendment after all. And this is where the constituents...
Congressman. It's not absolute. But I mean, the Second Amendment is not absolute. In other words, I'm only quoting Justice Antonin Scalia here, who says it's not unlimited or absolute. So you can't just have any weapon.
Nothing is absolute. But look, if there was a serious discussion on the House side, I think you would see Republicans enter into that discussion. You're seeing that on the Senate. And here's the problem. The House is doing a series of bills today and tomorrow that is actually going to make the Senate's job harder. And the Senate actually does seem like they're getting, you mentioned it earlier in your broadcast, the Senate seems like they're making some effort to come to a conclusion here.
I hope so. I hope so, Congressman. But instead of talking about process, I just want to talk about sort of so I understand. Talking about everything you're talking about the troubled kid, but not talking about guns, to me, is like Mothers Against Drunk Driving talking about everything except the car. It's the combination. You can't let the troubled teenager get a gun. Why would, answer me this, an 18-year-old need an AR-15?
Well, look, that is a discussion that perhaps we could have had. But on the House side, the way the legislation is constructed, Thomas Massey in the Rules Committee yesterday pointed out that he suggested that maybe if we were willing to reconsider the age of selective service registration, that he might be willing to have that discussion.
Are you willing to? Are you open?
No effort.
Richard, but I'm just asking your opinion. Are you willing to raise the age to 21?
I think this is one of those areas that deserves more study. We know for a fact that there are people who do feel that way. But on the other hand, when you look at...
But what about you, Congressman? I mean, why can't you answer that? How do you feel about that?
Me personally, I don't think that's a direction that is reasonable to go. The Ninth Circuit has already ruled against that.
But why does an 18-year-old need access to an AR-15?
Let's have the discussion. I mean, I'm willing to do that. But again, on the House side, all of that debate was simply foreclosed. We weren't going to do it.
I hear what you're saying, Congressman. But people are ready for action. I mean, I think we've been talking a lot. We've been talking for decades, and people are ready for action. But
which is why I had the seminar 6 weeks ago in my district. This is important to me. I have family members who teach in middle school. This is important to me.
Yes, and I have kids who go to school, and I would just remind you that one of the teachers who watched his 11 students get shot in Uvalde said no training ever prepares you for what happens when a gunman comes in like that. And they all had training, and they all got under their desk, and then they were all killed. And I'm just quoting him, and that was his take after all of the school shooting trainings.
And our police chief said he made the decision he was not going to go to 20 funerals, and he was willing to do what he thought was necessary to protect his schools. And it stood the test of time so far.
Congressman Michael Burgess, thank you. We appreciate your perspective.